Hello, everybody. Today is day 264 as we finish the book of Esther, reading from chapter 8 through chapter 10, a divine order of events. And this is what is displayed in our reading from yesterday and today as we recognize the sovereignty of God and his ability to accomplish his agenda in your life and my life. The king cannot sleep, one of those sleepless nights. But this is not just because he has eaten something he shouldn't have eaten. No, God was all in this, and he awakened the king, and he was prompted to read or have read to him the book of records of events that had transpired in his kingdom. Well, it's revealed in the readings that Mordecai had saved the king's life from an assassination attempt. And just as Haman enters to suggest hanging Mordecai on the very gallows that he had prepared, well, the king poses a neatly packaged question. How shall I honor a man whom the king delights in? Well, now Haman thought in his heart, oh boy, he's getting ready to bless me. He's making reference to me. His ego got in the way. And so with that as the backdrop, then he considers the way that he would like to be honored. And he says, well, get a royal robe that the king has worn and get a royal horse that the king has ridden on, and let it be delivered by an esteemed princess, and parade that man on horseback through the streets that all may honor him. And an unexpected, shocking, and disturbing response, the king says, hurry, do it. Go get Mordecai. You're the man to do it. And I cannot even imagine how his countenance must have dropped, and the shock that had slapped him in the face, and what he must have been feeling, what he must have been thinking at that moment. This is a divine order. This is God getting into the middle of the mess and directing the outcome of it. It's banquet time, and Queen Esther is going to be sharing a meal with Haman and with the king. This has also been divinely orchestrated. So the king asks Queen Esther, now anxiously awaiting the request or the petition that Esther has for the king. And think about what Haman must have been. He'd already been smacked in the face with this outcome of Mordecai, whom he had intended to kill, and now this man's being rewarded and honored, and he's in this uncomfortable meeting with Esther, and he has no idea what's about to happen. But it's hard to feast with a knot in your gut, and that's exactly what we see happening here. Timing is everything. I have to ask the question: are we prone to rush God or to get ahead of God, rather than trusting in the divine series of events that God is able to orchestrate in our lives? Well, he speaks about, Esther says to the king, spare our lives. A wicked scheme by a wicked man is going to impact me and all of my people. She discloses indeed that she is a Jew, and the king is obviously impacted by what she has shared, and says, where is he? Where is this man? The king asks. Right there, Esther says, as she points at Haman, the adversary, the enemy, is that wicked man. Well, of course, the king, he rose in wrath. Haman is left there recognizing that he is in deep doo-doo, and Haman is there screaming for his life, desperate, realizing that this is bad. And it goes from bad to worse, because he then falls on the couch there where Esther is, pleading for his life. The king comes in, and it doesn't look good at all, what the position and the situation that he sees, and he is infuriated even more. And they cover Haman's face as if to get him out of the presence of the king. And a servant cries out again timing. Look, the gallows which Haman made for Mordecai. And the king says, hang him on it. Take Haman and hang him on those gallows. God is sovereign and delights in altering situations and doing the impossible and the unexpected, because our God is a surprising God. Are we guilty of rushing God, of getting ahead of God or getting in the way of God because we feel as though we must take charge of the situation? This is where it places us in that difficult and that uncomfortable middle, where we must tenderly balance, carefully balance between what it is God would have us to do and where faith comes in to release it for God's timing and God to accomplish his what we cannot maneuver in our life. This demonstrates God's power and plan to save his people. The Jewish people were about to be annihilated, and God worked through a simple young lady. The words that Mordecai said, how do you know that you have not been born for such a time as this? And indeed, her purpose came at that time. This is what will occur in the end times. Even much of what we see here, the judgment that fell upon Haman and the rewards that fell upon Esther and Mordecai and the pleading by Haman for mercy, and all of this demonstrates in many ways the shadows of a coming judgment that each and every one of us will be confronted with. This is an end time judgment day picture. Esther is rewarded, Mordecai is rewarded, the Jews are rewarded, but all of it's God. And it's a beautiful picture of our need to trust in this sovereign God, to love this God, to have a beautiful relationship with him, and to recognize that as the king rewarded Esther and Mordecai and the Jews, so you and I will also be rewarded. It also shows us that God has a special place for his people, especially the Jewish people, and that the covenant promise that he has made, he will stand behind it. And in the end time, the enemies of the Jews will indeed be paid for their wickedness and their evil. And God will indeed raise up, as he has promised, his Jewish people, his special people. And thank God, because of the grace and the mercy of God, you and I have been grafted in as well. This is a beautiful demonstration of God's power and his ability to intervene in our life to accomplish his purposes.